Former US President Donald Trump has been disqualified from holding office and running for re-election in the 2024 presidential elections from Colorado. In a landmark judgment, the Colorado court found him guilty of insurrection or rebellion for his role in the 6th January US Capitol attack in 2021. Today we will look at what is the 6th January attack case against the former president and what this means for Trump's 2024 presidential election campaign. Tuesday's 4-3 ruling by the Colorado Supreme Court made Trump the first presidential candidate declared ineligible for the White House under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment disqualifies people who engage in insurrection against the Constitution after taking an oath to support it from holding office. This amendment was ratified after the US Civil War. Section 3 aims to block supporters of the Confederacy from serving in the government once southern states rejoin the Union. This is the first time it was used in the modern era, and that too against a presidential candidate. However, the ruling has been stayed until 4th January to allow Trump to appeal the judgment. The Trump campaign will now take this ruling to the US Supreme Court, whose 6-3 conservative majority includes 3 Trump-appointed judges who will consider if former president is eligible for another term. Calling the ruling completely flawed and undemocratic, Trump campaign spokesperson Stephen Chung said, "We have full confidence that the US Supreme Court will quickly rule in our favor and finally put an end to these un-American lawsuits." If Trump appeals before the 4th January stay lapses, the hold will continue until the Supreme Court rules. Colorado's ruling could force the Supreme Court to decide Trump's fate in not just one state but across the United States. While Trump was indicted in August in Washington under 4 charges for his role in the January 6th Capitol riots, this case in Colorado was brought up by a group of state voters, along with the advocacy group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. They believed that Trump should be disqualified for inciting his supporters to attack the Capitol in a failed plot to stop the transfer of presidential power to Biden after the 2020 election. So what does the ruling state? Without addressing the general elections, Colorado's top court directed the Colorado Secretary of State to exclude Trump's name from the state's Republican primary ballot. The ruling states, President Trump did not merely incite the insurrection. Even when the siege on the Capitol was fully underway, he continued to support it by repeatedly demanding that Vice President Mike Pence refuse to perform his constitutional duty and by calling senators to persuade them to stop the counting of electoral votes. These actions constitute overt, voluntary, and direct participation in the insurrection. However, this decision does not apply to states other than Colorado. It only applies to the upcoming state primary elections on 5th March, where Republican voters will pick their candidate for president. Courts have rejected several lawsuits seeking to keep Trump off the primary ballot in other states. New Hampshire, Minnesota, and Michigan also made similar attempts to remove Trump from the ballot using the Constitution's insurrection clause earlier this year, but failed. The 3 Colorado Supreme Court justices who were in the minority criticized Tuesday's ruling. One of the justices said that a lawsuit is not a fair process for determining Trump's eligibility for the ballot because it deprives him of his right to due process, noting that a jury has not convicted him of insurrection. He also warned of the chaos as a consequence of the ruling. Trump has been facing a wave of legal investigations over the past year on a series of charges including forgery, soliciting public officers, hoarding classified documents in his private residence in Mar-a-Lago, and attempting to overturn the 2020 election. On the whole, he faces 91 criminal counts in 4 separate cases filed in Georgia, Florida, Washington, and New York. Despite being charged prior to this judgment, he was still eligible to run for office as the US Constitution does not restrict those charged, convicted of a crime, or even serving jail time from running or winning the presidency. This is Dishha Bagchi for The Print. Follow The Print for all the latest updates. Thank you.